Keith Urban has always carried a certain glow. The kind of confidence that comes from decades in the spotlight, a loyal fan base, and a marriage that, for years, looked untouchable. But the moment news broke about his split with Nicole Kidman, everything shifted. Fans noticed the change immediately. Something in his voice, something in his eyes, something in the way he moved on stage. It wasn't the Keith they were used to seeing. It was someone trying to hold on, even as life pulled him in a direction he never expected. People close to him say the unraveling didn't happen overnight. It built slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. The kind of emotional storm that creeps in under the surface. Rumors began circulating that the pressure Keith had been putting on himself was finally catching up. For years, he pushed his craft to the edge, obsessing over every note, every lyric, every performance. Reports claim he poured everything into becoming the kind of musician only a handful of artists ever managed to be. And somewhere in the process, the cost of that dedication started to show. Insiders suggest he's been moving through rooms like a man caught between worlds. One moment present, the next moment somewhere far away. A source described him as running on empty, and that phrase spread fast online because it didn't sound dramatic, it sounded real. The idea of Keith Urban, usually so composed and charismatic, drifting through days like he's searching for something he lost, it struck people harder than anyone expected. Friends say he's been quieter, more withdrawn, and more isolated than at any point in his life. People close to the situation said he tried to make light of what he was facing, as though jokes could soften the impact of watching nearly 20 years of marriage collapse. But even the people laughing with him realized it was a mask, and masks only hold for so long. Behind the scenes, he was slipping deeper into emotional exhaustion, the kind of exhaustion that doesn't just tire you out, it changes you. And with Nicole no longer beside him day to day, the shift became impossible to ignore. Keith and Nicole were known for building a life that blended Hollywood glamour with quiet dedication. Fans loved the balance they struck. Yet, insiders have mentioned for years that Keith's introverted streak clashed with Nicole's naturally social lifestyle. Even during the best times, that contrast created tension. He loved privacy, she lived in a world where privacy barely exists. And though they tried to bridge that difference, it eventually became a dividing line they couldn't cross. There's been a lot of talk about how their personalities slowly drifted apart. Some people around them say Keith's tendency to retreat inward became more pronounced over time, especially when his music demanded everything from him. He poured his energy into writing, recording, and performing, and as that devotion intensified, something in his personal life began to fade. Not intentionally, just quietly in the background, the way small cracks become fault lines when no one's paying attention. When Nicole filed for divorce on September 30th, citing irreconcilable differences, fans around the world were stunned. But the people closest to them weren't. They'd seen the signs long before anyone else noticed. They saw Keith trying to keep up appearances, even as the weight of an unraveling marriage pressed down harder every day. And after the split became official, the questions about how he was coping started spreading fast. People wanted to know how someone so skilled, so experienced, so beloved could suddenly look so unsteady. Reports claim the loss hit him harder than anyone expected. He wasn't just losing a partner, he was losing the person who had walked with him through some of the darkest moments of his life. Nicole had been there during his battles, his victories, and the moments in between that fans rarely hear about. And now, for the first time in decades, he's facing a new chapter without her. Friends say he's more alone than ever, moving through empty rooms that once felt full. People around him say he's been talking a lot about change, real change, the kind that isn't just a new album or a new tour, but a complete shift in how he lives. He's reportedly planning to move far away from Los Angeles, back into the kind of environment where he feels grounded, somewhere quiet, somewhere he doesn't have to explain himself, somewhere where cameras don't follow and every mistake isn't turned into a headline. There's been speculation that he wants to disappear for a while, not vanish completely, but step out of the noise that's been crowding his life. Friends say the burnout is real and the breakup only magnified it. He's lived under intense pressure for so long that stepping away might be the only way to breathe again. And while some people fear he's slipping too far into his solitude, others believe it's exactly what he needs to rebuild. But distancing himself from the world doesn't erase the lingering questions. There's been a lot of online buzz about exactly what pushed the couple to their breaking point. Some fans believe it was the growing distance in their careers. Others point to the fundamental differences in how they lived. And then there are the whispers, the kind of speculative chatter that always rises during high-profile breakups. Nothing confirmed, but enough to fuel endless conversations. Rumors suggesting stress, emotional strain, conflicting priorities, reports claiming the relationship had been weakening for years. And though none of this has been verified, the speculation keeps circling because the public wants answers. While the outside world debates the reasons, those close to Keith say he's wrestling with something deeper, a sense of loss mixed with a fear of starting over at this point in his life. He's always been the kind of person who held tightly to the people he loved, and now he's learning what life feels like without that anchor. It's a transformation happening in real time, visible in small changes. The tone of his interviews, the energy in his performances, the quiet moments that reveal more than words ever could. Friends say the thing haunting him most is the feeling that he gave everything to his career, and in doing so, he didn't have much left to give at home. It's not uncommon among artists who chase perfection, but hearing that Keith may now be paying the price for that dedication has struck a nerve with fans everywhere. They've seen the pattern, the late nights in the studio, the endless touring, the pressure to stay on top, and through it all, the personal sacrifices that often go unnoticed until they can't be ignored anymore. But despite how fragile things seem, those closest to him believe there's still hope. Keith has always been a fighter, someone who gets back up no matter how hard he falls. And even though he's entering this next phase alone, it might be the moment that forces him to rebuild his life in a way that finally puts him first. Not as a superstar, not as half of a Hollywood couple, but as a man figuring out what he wants after losing something he thought would last forever. And the more time passes, the more people realize that this moment in his life isn't just an ending, it's a reckoning, a period where he faces the truth about everything he's carried, everything he's lost, and everything he still hopes to become. There's uncertainty, pain, and distance. But there's also the possibility of rediscovery, the chance to rewrite the story on his own terms. For now, Keith Urban is stepping into a future that looks nothing like the one he imagined. A future without Nicole, without the life they built together, without the safety net he leaned on for so long. But sometimes, the most unexpected chapters are the ones that reveal who someone really is. And as this story unfolds, one thing is clear. This isn't the end of Keith Urban. It's the beginning of a version of him the world has never seen.